If you want to see change, stop looking outside. These are not just words to be repeated in silence. They are a mirror to the inner truth you've forgotten. A reminder of the simplicity that most overlook. For most of your life, you've been trained to observe the external world and seek answers there. You look at the sky to see if your day will be good. You scroll through screens to find your next sense of meaning. You chase people, positions, and possessions to validate your existence. But at the end of every pursuit, there is the same silent echo. Nothing truly changes because you didn't change. Change does not come when the weather shifts or when people around you act differently. Change begins at the threshold of awareness. And awareness is not something that falls into your lap. It is cultivated. It is earned through stillness, through attention, and through the courage to look within, even when the world is burning around you. Many people wait for external conditions to align before they decide to improve themselves. They say, when the time is right, I will start. When people believe in me, I will move forward. When the situation becomes easier, I will give my best. But this thinking is a trap. It is the illusion of delay. It is a subtle form of fear disguised as logic. Because deep down, what they are really saying is, I don't want to take responsibility yet. This is why we say, if you want to see change, stop looking outside. Because everything that manifests in the outer world was once a thought, a decision, a belief you held quietly inside. Your life is not random. It is not accidental. It is a reflection. Just as a mirror does not smile unless you do, your reality cannot shift unless you do. When your internal state remains the same, no matter how many external opportunities come your way, they will not transform you. You will sabotage them. You will reject them. You will fear them. Because the energy within you is not yet aligned to receive them. Look at nature. The tree does not blame the sun for its lack of growth. It stretches its roots deeper into the ground and waits. The flower does not argue with the wind. It sways, it flows, it endures. Everything in nature knows this truth. All change begins inside, but only man, with all his intelligence, forgets. Man builds towers that touch the sky, but forgets to build the foundation within. He constructs machines that can map the stars, but he cannot sit alone with his thoughts for 5 minutes. He wants to control the world, but cannot even discipline his breath. And so July 15 arrives, another day in the calendar. For some it is just another Monday, for others it is the most important day of the year. What makes the difference? The date is the same, the sun rises the same, the birds sing the same. The difference is you. What state of mind do you bring to the day? What level of presence? What quality of intention? That is the secret. That is the door that most walk past every day without noticing. You have the power to make any moment sacred, but only if you stop expecting the moment to give you something first. July 15 is not your savior. It is your reflection. It will give you exactly what you bring to it. If you bring hesitation, it will hesitate to reward you. If you bring distraction, it will pass like a blur. But if you bring intention, stillness, and conscious effort, the most ordinary day can become the beginning of a new destiny. Chanta aims then. You do not need the approval of the world to begin. You do not need permission. You do not need applause. What you need is presence. The willingness to sit with yourself and ask, what have I been avoiding? What have I been blaming others for that is truly my responsibility? What beliefs have I inherited that no longer serve me? These questions do not require a guru. They require honesty. Because most people don't want the truth, they want comfort. And truth rarely offers comfort in the beginning. It shakes you, it strips you, it demands you to burn the old self so that the real one may emerge. But in that fire there is liberation. Because once you see that the world is not against you, that it is merely responding to your frequency, you stop being a victim of circumstance and become the author of transformation. You stop being a victim of circumstance and become the author of transformation. Do not underestimate the power of subtle change. A shift in awareness today becomes a transformation tomorrow. A new thought today becomes a new habit in time. One conscious breath can interrupt years of reactive living. That is why the inner path is not loud. It is quiet. It does not scream. It whispers. And it is only heard when the mind is still, the ego is humbled, and the heart is open. Your growth is not measured by how much you can acquire, but by how much you can let go. Can you let go of the need to control? Can you let go of the idea that others must change before you can be at peace? Can you let go of the belief that the right time is in the future and realize that the right time is now? People ask, but how do I begin? And the answer is always the same. Begin where you are. Begin with what you have. Begin now, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Begin with your breath. Begin with your posture. Begin by slowing down and noticing what you've been avoiding. The answers are already within you, but they've been buried under layers of noise, distraction, and emotional baggage. Remove the layers, and the path becomes clear. The warrior's path is not about fighting the world. It is about mastering yourself. It is about knowing when to speak and when to remain silent, when to act and when to observe, when to persist and when to surrender. And this wisdom does not come from books. It comes from direct experience, from falling, failing, getting back up, and learning. That is why discipline is not punishment. It is love. It is the most powerful form of self-respect, because when you are disciplined, you do not wait for life to push you, you push yourself. And in doing so, you begin to see results the world can't ignore. Stop waiting for external change. The world does not owe you anything. The universe does not respond to wishes. It responds to energy, the energy you carry into each day, into each interaction, into each breath. That is your power. And it is available to you now, in this moment. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now. So as the 15th of July approaches, do not ask what will happen. Ask who you are becoming. Ask what version of yourself you are ready to release. Ask what habits, thoughts, and emotions you are finally ready to let go of. Because the world will only rise to meet the frequency you embody. Not the one you pretend to have, not the one you wish for. The one you live, moment to moment, choice by choice. This is the Shaolin way, the way of inner mastery, the way of alignment. When you are aligned, the world cannot shake you. When your roots are deep, the storm cannot move you. And when your heart is still, even chaos becomes a teacher. There is no waiting. There is only now. The only question is, are you ready to stop looking outside? Are you ready to turn inward, to listen, to transform? Because if you are, the change you've been seeking has already begun. Discipline is often misunderstood. Many see it as a cage, a restriction, something heavy and burdensome. But in truth, discipline is the highest form of freedom. It is not meant to confine you. It is the force that liberates you from chaos, from distraction, from regret. When you learn to master the present moment through discipline, you are not merely surviving time, you are shaping it. And when you shape the present, you create a future that no longer controls you, but becomes an expression of your deepest intentions. Most people live passively. They wait for the right moment to change, they wait for better conditions, they wait for inspiration, but life does not reward the one who waits. Life responds to the one who moves, the one who breathes consciously, the one who shows up regardless of mood. That is discipline, not doing what you feel like, but doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. The present moment is a doorway, and yet many walk past it every day. Why? Because their minds are trapped in memories or projected into fears of the future. They are here in body, but not in spirit. They move through the day like ghosts, functioning, surviving, but not fully alive. The practice of discipline brings you back. It calls you to attention. It reminds you, now is where life begins, not yesterday. And not tomorrow, now. 15 July will come. It will arrive like every other day. But for those who understand discipline, it will not be just another entry on the calendar. It will be a seed planted with focus, with effort, with mindfulness. And like any seed, what you water consistently is what grows. The undisciplined man plants many seeds but forgets to water them. He starts many things but finishes none. He has big dreams, but his daily actions betray them. End of poem. The disciplined man, on the other hand, does not need to shout his goals. He plants in silence. He waters in silence. And in time, his garden speaks for itself. Every great transformation begins with small, consistent actions. The mountain is not climbed in one leap. It is ascended, one deliberate step at a time. The body does not become strong overnight. It becomes strong with every push-up done when no one is watching. The mind does not become clear by accident. It becomes clear through repeated focus, stillness, and awareness. You see, the future is not far away. It is shaped by the quality of this very moment. What you choose to do now determines what you will experience later. Every time you resist distraction, you build resilience. Every time you wake up when you said you would, you build self-trust. Every time you say no to what is easy and yes to what is right, you shape a version of yourself that can carry greater weight, handle deeper truth, and walk with unshakable peace. Discipline does not mean being harsh. It means being honest. When you say, I will do this, and you follow through, you align your mind and body, you become integrated, you become trustworthy, not to others only, but to yourself. And when you trust yourself, fear begins to dissolve. Because fear often arises from uncertainty, discipline replaces that uncertainty with clarity, with intention, with direction. We live in a world addicted to quick fixes and immediate gratification. People want success, but they do not want repetition. They want inner peace, but they avoid silence. They want mastery, but they run from routine. But mastery only comes to those who embrace repetition, not as a burden, but as a sacred ritual. A disciplined man does not tire of the basics. He refines them. He respects them because he knows that greatness is not in the complexity. It is in the depth of simplicity practiced over time. When you wake up on the morning of 15th July, the world around you may not be different. The sky may look the same. The people in your life may act the same. Your surroundings may not offer any grand sign. But what determines whether this day is ordinary or extraordinary is your level of awareness, your commitment to discipline, and your devotion to the present moment. Because once you master this moment, you no longer chase the future. You create it. Many chase results without falling in love with process. They want the flower without planting the seed. They want the fire without gathering the wood. But life does not work that way. Nature has rhythms, and the rhythm of growth is slow, silent, and subtle. Discipline teaches you to be patient with that rhythm, to trust the process, to show up every day even when there is no applause, because real change often happens quietly, without immediate evidence. But that doesn't mean it isn't happening. The seed does not scream as it breaks open in the soil, but it transforms completely. The beautiful thing about discipline is that it can begin at any moment. You do not need special tools. You do not need perfect circumstances. You only need willingness. You need to care more about who you are becoming than what you feel in the moment. When you start doing what is hard because it is right, not because it is convenient, you begin to sculpt the character that can carry a future greater than your past. Discipline also connects you to something higher, because when you discipline your body, you begin to understand your mind. And when you understand your mind, you gain access to the soul. The body is the gateway, the mind is the key, and the soul is the destination. That is why discipline is a spiritual practice. It is not just about doing push-ups or meditating for 10 minutes. It is about honoring life with your effort, honoring the divine with your focus, honoring your own journey with your devotion to now. Discipline protects you from regret. There is no pain more bitter than the pain of knowing you could have done more, that you could have shown up but didn't, that you could have taken the step but froze, that you could have honored your word but broke it. Regret is the cost of avoidance. Discipline is the cure. And you must remember, discipline is not about perfection. It is about consistency. You will fall, you will miss days, you will feel resistance. But the key is to return, always return. No matter how far you drift, the path is always one breath away, one decision away, one choice away. That is how the present moment holds infinite power. In it is the doorway back to alignment, back to center, back to purpose. So as you stand before this new day, 15 July, ask yourself, what am I willing to give up to become who I truly am? What comfort am I willing to let go of so I may step into a deeper form of freedom? What pattern am I ready to break so that a new way of living can emerge? No one else can answer this for you. No one else can walk this path for you. But the beauty of this truth is that it also means you are never powerless. You are never stuck. You are never too far gone. Because in every breath, the opportunity to begin again is available. That is the secret power of the present moment, and that is the gift discipline gives you. The ability to honor that moment, not with theory, not with wishes, but with action. The world around you will continue to change. Seasons will come and go. People will shift. Circumstances will rise and fall. But the one thing you can always control is your response to the moment. The energy you bring, the attitude you hold, the level of effort you give. And if you anchor yourself in those things, you become untouchable. Not because the world becomes easier, but because you become stronger. Let others wait. Let others hesitate. Let others debate whether this day matters. You already know the truth. You already feel the calling. And once you've heard it, you cannot unhear it. The only thing left to do is to act, to show up, to be the one who embodies the values others only talk about. So do not wait for change. Become the change. Do not wait for signs. Be the sign. Do not ask for the future to be different. Build a present so powerful that the future has no choice but to bow to it. This is the way, this is the discipline, this is the moment. And it begins now. Your old self must die for your new self to be born. This is not poetry, it is law. The law of growth, the law of transformation, the law of awakening. Every single person who has ever stepped into a higher version of themselves has at some point been asked to sacrifice who they were. And yet most people resist this process. They hold on, they cling, they try to move forward while dragging the weight of their past behind them. But the truth is simple. No one can ascend carrying the baggage of who they no longer are. The old self is not evil. It was necessary. It got you this far. It held the beliefs that protected you. It developed the habits that kept you safe. It built the walls that helped you survive. But survival and freedom are not the same. What helped you endure the past may be the very thing preventing you from creating a new future. There comes a time when the tools you once used become the cages you now live in. Death is not always physical. Sometimes the most painful deaths are internal. The letting go of identity, the surrender of certainty, the dissolving of pride. And yet, this death is sacred. It is not a loss. It is a passage. The snake sheds its skin. The caterpillar dissolves into goo before becoming the butterfly. The seed breaks apart before the tree can grow. Nature does not fear transformation. Only humans do. When we say, your old self must die, we are pointing to your willingness to release who you were yesterday in order to become who you are truly meant to be today. This death is a conscious one. It is the moment you stop defending your excuses. It is the moment you stop repeating your old stories. It is the moment you realize that growth does not come from adding more to your life, it comes from subtracting what no longer serves you. Many people want change, but they want it without sacrifice. They want the new life while keeping the old habits. They want new relationships while keeping old wounds. They want success while staying in the same patterns of procrastination and fear. This contradiction creates suffering. Because the soul knows the truth. You cannot walk into a new chapter of life carrying the same mindset that wrote the last one. July 15 is a mirror. It reflects who you are being. And if you want the reflection to change, you must change the person standing in front of it. Not by force, not with judgment, but with presence, awareness, and deep inner honesty. Ask yourself, who am I still pretending to be? What am I still afraid to let go of? What version of me have I outgrown, but am still trying to keep alive? Transformation does not begin when the world changes. It begins when you declare that the old you is no longer in charge. The version of you that avoids responsibility, the version of you that escapes discomfort, the version of you that keeps repeating the same choices and expecting different outcomes. That version must be laid to rest. Not with shame, but with gratitude. Because once you thank the old self for its service, you can finally set it down and walk freely into the next evolution of your life. This inner death is quiet. It happens in the moments when you choose discipline over delay, when you choose truth over convenience, when you choose growth over comfort. No one else may see it, but you will feel it. Something dissolves, something cracks open, something within you shifts from resistance to surrender. The ego fights this death. It fears the unknown. It clings to identity. It wants to be right more than it wants to be free. But freedom has a price. And the price is who you used to be. If you want to be reborn into a new way of living, you must be willing to sit in the fire of transformation. The fire that burns away the masks. The fire that reveals the raw truth. The fire that leaves you naked, not in body, but in being. And in that nakedness, you discover what was always beneath the roles and stories. Your essence. Many people never reach this point. They live their whole lives performing, pretending, projecting. They build identities based on fear, validation, or survival. But when the moment comes, when life calls them higher, they resist. They say, but this is who I am. No, that is who you were. Who you are is always emerging, always expanding, always evolving. Death of the old self is not a one-time event. It is a cycle. Over and over again, you will be invited to let go of who you were in order to step into who you are becoming. Every new level of life demands a new version of you, and every time you answer that call, the old self trembles. But if you are brave enough to walk through the fear, you will see the new self is always waiting on the other side. Let go of the need to know exactly who you're becoming. Just know that staying where you are is no longer an option. The discomfort you feel is not punishment. It is the labor pain of the new self trying to be born. The more you resist it, the more it hurts. But the moment you surrender, the pain becomes purpose. The breakdown becomes breakthrough. You must become the architect of your own rebirth. No one else can do it for you. Others may guide you. They may support you. But the decision to rise, to shed the old skin, is yours and yours alone. And it begins with a quiet commitment. I will no longer betray my own evolution just to stay familiar. Look into the mirror on 15 July and ask yourself, am I still carrying beliefs that belong to the old me? Am I still repeating behaviors that no longer align with where I say I want to go? Am I still living out of fear instead of vision? If the answer is yes, celebrate. Because awareness is the first step of change. Once you see clearly, you cannot unsee. The only question that remains is, Will you act on what you now know? The death of the old self is sacred. It is not violent. It is not chaotic. It is a release, a surrender, a returning, a remembering. You are not becoming someone else. You are becoming more fully who you've always been beneath the noise. Your new self is not somewhere far away. It is here, beneath the layers, beneath the habits, beneath the fear. It is waiting. Waiting for your decision, waiting for your devotion, waiting for you to say, I am ready to let go. I am ready to begin again. And when you do, the universe responds. Doors open, people appear, energy shifts. Not because magic suddenly happened, but because you aligned with your truth. The moment you step into alignment, life begins to rearrange itself around your integrity. But the process is not always easy. Sometimes the death of the old self feels like confusion, emptiness, even loneliness, because you are no longer who you were, but not yet fully who you are becoming. This is the void, the in-between. And it is not to be feared. It is to be honored. The void is sacred space. It is the womb of creation. It is where all rebirth begins. Do not rush this space. Do not numb it. Do not fill it with distractions. Sit with it. Listen. Breathe. Trust. Something new is forming within you. Something deeper. Something more aligned. Something that will carry you further than the old self ever could. Give it as heat best met. And 15 July is not just a date. It is a choice, a moment in time where you decide, will I keep reliving the past, or will I write a new future? Will I keep reacting from old wounds, or will I respond from new wisdom? Will I keep surviving, or will I finally begin to live? This is not a performance. It is not for show. It is for you, for your soul, for your peace, for the version of you that is waiting patiently in silence, whispering, let go. It's time. You do not need to have it all figured out. You only need to begin. One honest step, one aligned choice, one bold act of letting go. That is how transformation begins. Not with noise, but with sincerity. And when you look back one day, you will realize the day you allowed the old self to die was the day your true life began.